I picked this up last year, just after Christmas. I went to some local sales and I picked this up. This was like, I don't know, 10% of the original price or something. So it's basically just an MDF box, but it's quite deep. That's probably about 4 centimeters, something like that. But it's quite nice, quite solid and well made. But I was thinking I could make it a bit more interesting, so I've got some quite big red leads. What are these? 5mm leads. So I was thinking that I would drill some holes in different places, maybe on the white bits, and poke the LEDs in from behind. And then there's plenty of room in here for electronics, and we can also get some like 18650 cells in there, something like that. So we can get some rechargeable cells in there. So I'm going to do that. So first of all, I'm going to plan where exactly I'm going to put the 10 LEDs. It's got to be 10 because the circuit I'm going to use is one of those 4017, is it? So the little decoder, 1 out of 10 decoder boards that you often see in these LED flasher kits, and I'm sure that I've got a kit left over somewhere in a box, and so I could use that to rotate the lights. And if I don't put them in linear order, maybe they'll I can make it look like it's a bit random. So let me go and plan where I'm going to drill the holes, and then we can get the LEDs in place. Okay, so I've drilled the holes now, so I've got 10 holes in various places. I tried to pick places where the wood is quite wide so that I wasn't in danger of drilling through the side or something. So I put 10 holes in. It was quite difficult to drill tidy holes because this MDF just kind of flakes off like paper. So what I've done, you might see that it's wet with paint at the moment. So after drilling the holes, I thought I would patch up the way the holes looked and basically cheer up the whole of the paintwork because it was looking a bit dull. So I've got some satin wood paint and I've given it a coat of paint. But what I was thinking of doing, I drilled one big hole thinking that I might mount the LED from behind nearly all the way through, but that seems to be quite difficult because of the hole's quite jagged. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to perch them on top instead. So I'm going to feed the legs of the LEDs in from the top, and then I'll probably stick them from behind using some hot glue, so a little blob of hot glue to keep each one in place. So I don't need all these holes to be kind of fully 5mm because I'm just going to perch the LEDs on the top. So that's the next step, to actually put all the LEDs physically in place, glue them so that they're good and firm, and then I'll wire up all of one side of the LEDs. I'll have to check the circuit diagram of the circuit that I'm going to use to see whether I need to connect all the anodes, the positives, or whether to connect all of the cathodes. So let me do that and I'll come back. So here's where I got to now. All the LEDs are in the hole. I just noticed that one's a bit wobbly. I have to put more glue on that. But basically I've mounted them all in the holes and put a bit of glue in. So those are all in place, and so now the wiring up can begin. In terms of the electronics that are going to go inside, you may have seen these before. This is a LED chaser, so typically you put 10 LEDs along here, and you've got 10 current limiting resistors, and then you've got a couple of chips, the 4017, which is a 1 out of 10 decoder, and the 555, which is the clock. And I made this into a I squeezed 4 of these together to make them into an animated display, and if you haven't seen that, I'll put it in the video up here so you can see that. So I'm going to solder this together. I'm not going to put the LEDs in though, because I'm going to run wires from here to the various LEDs that I've already mounted in the Christmas decoration itself. In terms of power, I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to use yet, so I might use one of these 18650s. So this came out of something from Poundland, so it's not a very high capacity one. So I might use one of these, and I've got some little boards here that I bought recently. So this is a charger for an 18650 cell. I bought a couple of these. These are USB-C, so I'd never seen the USB-C variant before, so I might well use one of those as a charging solution. Alternatively, I could use one of these, again another Poundland charger thing. So this is, I mean, this would give 3.7 volts out, which is probably enough to run this circuit. I shall experiment with that. Or this one, which has got similar electronics inside. This gives 5 volts out, and obviously you can charge this through a micro USB. And in terms of how that fits, you can see there's plenty of room inside the box for fitting something like that. I'll probably put it somewhere near the middle to make the thing hang straight, because it's got a single hanger on the top there. So I'll do some experimentation, figure out exactly what I'm going to do there. So I'll solder this board together, finish off putting the wires on the LEDs, and then we can start to assemble and see what it's going to look like. So I've got this assembled now, at least to see how this works. So you see I've put this board together, and you can see the lights kind of go in a fairly linear pattern. And if I rotate the pot here, the preset, you can see I can change the speed, make it slower or faster. I'll just put the lights off so you can get the full effect. There you go. So that's quite pleasing actually. So obviously this isn't in its final form yet, because there's a real rat's nest of wires here. We've got 11 wires here to drive the various LEDs. So the next job is really to shorten the wires and make them all the right length to run to any particular LED, and then fix some of these things down. So I'm probably not going to do anything fancy, just going to get some hot glue and stick the wires down into place. So this is running off 4 volts at the moment, which seems to be enough, and I just did a test with my Poundland battery, which should be around 4 volts, and that seemed to work okay as well. So I may well go ahead and use this with the USB-C charger. This is what I've ended up with then. So I've got the circuit board is stuck here on a double-sided sticky pad, and also one of these Poundland chargers with a single 18650 inside, and that's stuck down with a double-sided sticky pad also. I had an old USB cable which I could cut down and use for the power. So I can charge this by taking it to my desk and plugging in a micro USB cable here to charge it back up again. You'll see that I've made a big improvement to the wiring here, so I've tried to cluster it all into a bundle here and then kind of go out in spurs. This wire turns out to be quite brittle, so I've had quite a lot of difficulty with particular LEDs stopping working, and I've had to rewire some of it, but it seems to be all going now. So this is the final effect. Obviously I can vary the speed with that potentiometer on the circuit board, but I quite like this particular speed. So there we go. That's the end of my project. Oh, I used some hot glue to keep some stuff in place. Some of the leads were still a bit wobbly, so I put some hot glue in, so it's all quite mechanically strong now, I think. Okay, I just need to find a place to put that on the wall for Christmas.